Hey everybody, it's your host Don Mike Mendoza for Producing While Asian, the podcast. Welcome to this new series. Today's episode is our inaugural episode featuring the wonderful Jeppy Paraiso. Jeppy is known for his character on social media named Tita Che, and for anyone that's Filipino American, they know that's a Filipino auntie that everybody loves to love and loves to hate. But we're also going to talk about his journey to becoming a content creator and his beginnings as a chef. So we really hope you join us this season for many conversations with AAPI producers and non-producers, starting with today's episode featuring Jeppy Paraiso. Welcome to Producing While Asian.
A letter to St. Paul to the Corinthians. Oh, wait, I have the wrong speech here. Okay, wait, let me start over. To my colleagues, to my constituents, to the American people, to the house, to the floor, to the window, to the wall, the door. I stand before you today, pipe, brown eyes, smile like the sunrise.
All right. Hi, Jeppy. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. It's so nice to see you and talk to you. Like,
I know.
whether it's online, at least we're chatting instead of Instagram messaging.
I know. Right?
So, yeah, right. So many things. And I just before we get into our questions, like I just find your content to be so fascinating and so honest. Like I know that sounds really like honest, like but honest. You know, you're not hiding anything, which I really appreciate. So, I'm just gonna let you take it away. So tell the audience a little bit about where you came from, where your background is, and how you got into landing at this place of producing your own content and creating your own characters.
Hello, everybody listening and everybody that's going to watch this eventually. My name is Jeppy Paraiso. I am from Northern Virginia, USA. I'm a content creator. I'm also a chef and a singer and a good friend of Don Michael here. And I'm the guy behind this character online, everybody's favorite Tita Che, if you're familiar with her. So my content consists of everything Filipino culture, comedy, and all of that through the eyes of the Filipino American Experience and the titas that live here in the US. What was the other part of the question? Background.
Yeah, tell us about how you got
Professionally,
there.
I went to culinary school. So I became a chef by profession. And then my whole world changed in late 2017 with Tita Che because one little silly video that I made randomly on a Monday went viral. And from that day on, I guess I became a content creator. So I've been doing it roughly for 2017. I'm horrible at math, like 3 years, 3.5, 2.5, whatever.
Yeah,
long enough. Long enough to land a podcast with Don Mike. Yeah, it's been a crazy ride. And so, yeah, like I said, it started in 2017 with Filipino Titas on Thanksgiving Be Like. From then on, I've created content surrounding that kind of comedy when it comes to our Filipino Titas, our aunties, other aspects of Filipino American family and Filipino American experiences we've had growing up. Me personally, a 90s kid growing up in the 90s here in the States. So a lot of the content references stories of me growing up during that time in the early 2000s. Yeah, it's been a crazy ride and it's still going.
Yeah, I mean, it's been wonderful to watch you go on this journey and become Tita Che, but also Jeppy as an influencer and see the messaging that you're putting out through your content, which is really great to see. Because as most of us know, the AAPI community and also specifically Filipinos, we don't speak our minds. And so it's really great to see that part of our culture that we don't really do come to life. So I think the biggest question we all want to know about Tita Che specifically is there one specific Tita Che that helped you make this character, or is she an amalgamation of all the Titas like Voltron and they all come together and they're Tita Che?
She is a product of so many things. I mean, a lot of people, I usually get the same question all the time when I do these kinds of things that, do you have a specific Tita that you based it on? I'm like, no, collectively, it was a little bit of everybody. What's funny is that my mom is so far from being Tita Che and a lot of my aunts here. But there are certain aunties that have elements of Tita Che. But really, I've had a lot of influences developing the character. Like growing up in high school and middle school, Rex Navarrete was like the comedian and the like king of the accent and telling these stories. Like it wasn't like anything made up. It was storytelling. So it was things that, of course, it's exaggerated for the stage, but like the root of it is everything we've experienced too. So that's why I think being a teenager at that time and hearing all those stories, it was just so funny. And so like seeing him do it, and then Happy Slip in the beginning of YouTube, and then Joe Coy from the 2000s till today, a lot of them inspired, one, the character, and two, how to maneuver this platform with delivering this kind of content, because we all kind of like grew into the social media thing. So I was lucky enough to have them and a lot of my close friends as kind of like pillars to look and to go to for advice or examples or anything like that. And even non-Filipino content inspired Tita Che. Like Medea was a big inspiration with the sassiness and the in-your-faceness of Tita Che. Tyler Perry was a big influence on that too. Everything happened so fast that I didn't have a moment to sit down and be like, well, how do I want to shape this character? What do I want to do with her? What's the message I'm trying to convey here to people that are watching? Because like 3 months into it, I shot a commercial in the Philippines. That's how like quick this happened. Like I was working as a chef in November, and by February, March, April, I was flying back and forth to the Philippines, working with brands and stuff. So I didn't really have a moment to be like, well, what do I want to turn this into something? Or, in my mind, I was just like, people fade in and fade out when they have this kind of viral success. So I was always in my mind, I was just like, this is going to last like 6 months tops.
Yeah. To your point of it happening so fast, like when I first heard about you, it was like I heard about you from like 10 different directions. It wasn't like my one friend who's really into memes and stuff. It was like my cousin in Australia, my cousins in Manila, like friends in Chicago. They were like, have you seen this video of this Tita? And I was like, oh my God, like you're all telling me about the same thing. So yeah, understandably so. It was like completely, you could see that happened. It's not just your own feeling of how fast. It was like like for me personally, like you came at me from 10 different directions, and I was like, oh, so that's a thing now. And it was awesome.
That's crazy. I think developing the character, like the first few months, I didn't even call her Tita Che. Like the whole Che thing was like, I didn't plan on that, because I mean, the very, very first video, one of the lines of the jokes was like a joke about, I can't even remember my own stuff, but it was a joke about somebody's fake Louis Vuitton. So I was like, I think I said like, oh, you got that from a nice new bag. You got that from Hong Kong, right? Che. So like, it just came out. Yeah. Because it's something I always heard in like Filipino content and like comedy movies in the Philippines and stuff like that. And so everybody was calling the character Tita Jeppy, because it was on my, personal profile. So for the first few months, everybody, even in the commercial I shot, I was still named Tita Jeppy. It's not until all of that, I did the commercial, and I sat down, I was like, well, everybody's clinging on to, it was after I got invited by Stephanie Ilao, somebody you know very well. I got invited that January of 2018, the last run of Miss Saigon on Broadway, because it was closing. Nice. I got invited by him to watch, and it was like, I don't know if you remember, but there was this big storm in New York. And I was like, do I really want to go up 4 hours to watch Miss Saigon? But I was just like, I love the musical. Two, it's all Asian cast, and they watch my stuff. So I was like, of course I'm going to go and meet them during the show. You've seen it. There's scenes where everybody's going, it's chaos, everybody's running. So in the running scenes, a lot of the cast would like yell, Che, Che, when everything, like when the helicopter's going and they're trying to, all that stuff. So they were like, when I met them, I was just like, they were like, did you hear us yelling Che every time we would run in those scenes? I was like, no, I was so like focused on, the story, and you guys, I've never seen the show on stage before. So it's after that I'm just like, everybody is clinging on to this punchline that when she does Che. So I was like, well, maybe I should name her Tita Che, because that's kind of her tagline now. So in the months following, I kind of let my following and the viewers shape her personality. Like I would pay attention to like the jokes people would cling on, certain aspects of Tita Che's personality and gestures and stuff that people would like always cling on and repost or recite back to me. So that's kind of like how I shape who she is and her personality and the dynamic of her. I kind of just paid attention to what was working and what was not.
And in terms of feedback on your character, have you ever done like a group sample of titas and like seen what their reactions are? Because I will say on my end, when I showed the many older Filipino women in my life your character, it was like hit or miss. And it wasn't hit or miss in the sense of like or dislike. It was either like or was confused because maybe it was them. So they're like, why is this funny? Because they're it's just like watching a normal person.
It's their normal, yeah.
Yeah, it's normal. And so that's kind of what I've seen. So what kind of feedback have you gotten from the community about her?
For the most part, throughout all these years of doing it, like I probably can count on like either one or two hands the number of times that it's been a problem for somebody. You know, you choose to work in this platform, you're going to get that in whatever you do. If it's comedy, if it's music, if it's whatever. I was prepared for that. And luckily I had a close group of friends who are in the entertainment business here and in the Philippines. They led by example because I knew the stuff they've gone through. And I knew going into this what not to do. Absolutely was like, I was absolutely not going to joke about politics unless I felt the need to. And like after having a year like 2020, if you said nothing, then, you know.
Yeah.
So this past year has tested that thing I promised myself. I wouldn't really joke about religion or go so deep into where it becomes below the belt, you know? A lot of issues that we have in everyday life where I knew I shouldn't point out one group of somebody, whether it be, you know, LGBT or whether it be, you know, a certain culture. I would never pinpoint one for a content. I knew that going in, and that's kind of how I just figured out how to do content was what can I joke about? Of course, the holiday things was always like the start of it because I was just like, well, I got to make fun of every holiday now because we celebrate every single holiday here. And then after that, it was just kind of like random inspirations. Like I've done, you know, Grey's Anatomy themed content. I did a crazy Rich Titas thing that went crazy.
Yeah.
And then I did that. And then I did one of myself playing every character. And the whole cast saw it and commented, which blew my mind.
That's awesome.
And because I was told they have like a cast group chat and somebody had shared it in the chat. And then they all started dumping on my Instagram. So I was just like,
that's
shut
incredible.
Up. Yeah. So I was just like, you know, when it's just crazy. And I think the key to it for anybody that's listening, that's trying to like get into this kind of world of content creation or social media. I don't like the name social media influencer, but content creating, you just have to be genuine and authentic and, you know, true to the message you're trying to convey, whether it be like comedy or something about your culture. I always tell everybody you have to lead. It sounds, you know, cliche, but you have to lead with love and respect with whatever you do, because you know it's going to come back to you.
Yeah,
so that's kind of how I always lead into something.
Yeah, because there's so many. I don't want to say young people because we're young people, but like people that are young in the industry that put their foot in their mouth because they don't lead with love. They don't lead with an open heart.
Or they just want quick clout, you know, which I mean, I totally get. But if you really want a career and I guess, you know, longevity and you want this to, you know, grow to something bigger where, you know, maybe you'll become the producer of this kind of content and have your own studio and this, like, if that's like the ultimate goal, not the right here, right now, what can I do to have 1 million followers? Then in 10 years, you'll probably just be working a regular job, honestly.
Right. Yeah. I feel like it's all the things that you don't think about ahead of time is where your life will go. Right. So it's like, you didn't think that this is what would happen. And here you are. And it's not because you willed it into existence. It just became. And so it's just like what now the question really is, and it kind of is a great segue into this next part I want to talk to you about is, how are you going to now use this amazing gift that's happened in your life and this platform that you've been given? Is Tita Che going to be the main one all the way through? Or are you thinking of different characters and things to bring into this world that you've made?
Well, for the people that don't know, I use a filter on Snapchat to become this character. It's that big mouth filter. So executing this character is a little bit challenging because I use different stuff to create her. So everybody's like, what are you going to do if the filter is gone? And I'm just like, I probably just have to kill her off or something, or do Tita Che got plastic surgery and just show up in drag. Now, technology is so advanced that like it's going to be expensive, but you can recreate that kind of stuff with plans of her. I mean, I'm going to still play her as long as technology will let me. And as long as people want to see her, I'll still do it. But people like ask like, what's the long term, or what are you going to do if you can't do her anymore? I'm like, well, I could write a cartoon series, surrounding her and pitch it to, ABS CBN or TFC or something.
Yeah.
I could pay to get the software so I can film it myself. Because when I filmed the commercial in the Philippines, I didn't use Snapchat. They animated my face to be her. So it was like this big like production thing. So, we shot the commercial as is, and then they went in and animated my face. But like in the long run,
commercial was that again?
So this was for Globe Telecom Philippines. It's
That's
like
right.
their big phone company or internet company, internet company.
It's like AT&T.
And it was a Mother's Day ad. And you know that Philippine ads are like, people wait for these ads like soap operas. Because that's kind of like the standard how they film it. It's like 3 to 5 minute soap operas. So they wanted to do something different and go like a comedy route. And it was literally at the time where Tita Che was like spreading everywhere. So they wanted to do kind of like a comedic thing, but with the same kind of like, there was still heart to it. It was like a story about a mother and daughter's relationship, but Tita Che's in the middle because she's like the one that gets everybody together. So it was a really cool experience. I've never shot anything that professional before, so it was an experience. We shot for 22 straight hours. So
oh my gosh.
And I flew from here, so it's just like jet lag, and then filming for 22 straight hours, and then hopping on a flight back home a few hours after the final shot. So it was just like this crazy thing, and I was like, yeah, I'll do it. I'll go. I'm thankful to what happened because I got to leave my job, and it came at a time in my professional career as a chef where I was just so burnt out. And I was just like, please, God, the universe, somebody give me a sign to have me leave this job. Like that, give me a sign to confirm that this is the next step I have to take, is to leave this job. And the next day, Tita Che went viral. So I'm just like, if that ain't the universe slapping you in the face, then I don't know what is.
Right. Yeah, right. It's that idea of like, I mean, I don't want to sound like a Becky, but like that idea of manifestation, right? Like if you will it, it'll happen. You're going to subconsciously make choices that will lead you to where you're going to go. But that's awesome. In the 4 years, almost 4 years that you've been on this wave, give us like 3 really great memories that you'll hold on to, like moments that you're like, wow, I can't believe that I went from my old job to this, or I went from my old job to working with this person. Like in your mind, what are 3, or it can be less or more, like moments that really stick out for you?
One will be the commercial, because that was a really big thing for me. 2 would be actually the first video of it. I didn't know what it was like to go viral. So it was like this. And, at the time I was like 27, 28. So I thought, my time has passed to put my foot in this entertainment place. I'm fine with, working where I'm working. And so that was a new experience for me. And 3rd, it will be the first time I got recognized in person. And it was in Mega Mall in the Philippines, of all places.
Yes, Mega Mall.
And keep in mind, the content was Filipino American. So it was like most of the followers were here in America. But to tell a quick story, we were at H&M in Mega Mall. And Mega Mall is like this slap dab in the middle of Manila, busy Manila. It's like in the middle of this area. So everybody goes to this mall. And
for like the listeners on this podcast, sorry to interrupt, for the listeners on the podcast that don't know, if you're not Filipino and haven't been to the Philippines, malls are a big fucking deal. Like malls are like little cities that you go to, and Mega Mall, before there was a place called Mall of Asia, was like the biggest mall. So this is like a Disneyland of malls that Jeppy was at. So sorry, continue.
No, it's cool. I was with my best friend who is a singer in the Philippines. And he's pretty popular. He was on The Voice. He was on Team Leia and all that stuff. His name's Tim Pavino. We were at H&M, and this couple kept looking at us. And I was like, oh, Tim, I think some of your fans are here because they keep looking at you and looking at your phone. not thinking that like nobody's gonna recognize me in Mega Mall. And then we were shopping and we were exiting H&M. Our backs were turned and the couple was like, Jeppy? And I was like, I froze. I was like, and my best friend Tim was like, oh, they're here for you. And I turned around and it was so awkward because I don't, even today it's awkward because I don't walk into a place thinking like people are going to recognize me or ask me for pictures or anything. So it's so awkward. I was like, hey, what's up? And they're like, oh, we love your video. Tita Che is hilarious. And this, that, and the other. And I was like, it was just awkward. I was like, thanks. And like, you don't know I didn't know if they wanted a picture or not. So I didn't want to look like I was so conceited and be like, do you want a picture?
Want my picture?
So I was just like, well, thank you. I hope you guys have the good rest of your day. And so we went from there. And like, I wish I got their names so I could remember them, but they were so sweet and they were so excited to see me. And I was just like thrown off. And my best friend the whole day was teasing me. He was like, oh, you're so famous. You're so famous. Mega Mall. I was like, shut up. Each time that happens, it's such a treat for me. It catches me off guard, but it's just like, oh my God, this is so cool.
Well, you know what? If they're out there and they're listening to this episode, I'm going to tell you, whoever you were at Mega Mall, please DM our account and tell us who you are.
You remember.
Let us know who you are, and we'll maybe have a reunion in a later episode.
I mean, it was the night I met you guys at Bocata. That was very overwhelming because it's just like everybody like knew I was here. It was announced on the mic, and I was just like, I have to remember who everybody is.
And that was the first time that I met you too. And so, the venue, remember there was like a balcony on the top above the stage. And so like a lot of us that were up there were like creeping on you from like 20 feet above.
That's
being
like,
is that him? Is that him?
Let me just stand in the back because I'm so tall.
And I feel like reactions you have to put on a scale of like, and I mean this with love, from like on a scale of like 1 to Regina Aquino, right? Where it's like, there's people who are like, hey, Jeppy, to like Regina screaming for like that 2 minutes.
When Amar was just like, do you know who this is? And I was just like, and Regina was just like, oh my God. Oh.
Like running in circles, screaming.
Love you. I was like, I love you.
Oh my gosh. Hopefully she will be a guest on the show. So, we'll definitely bring that up in.
Hello, Brooks here with the Books with Brooks monthly book club podcast. We read one book a month and then we talk about it. Books like Stephen King's The Shining or Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. If you're on the hunt for book recommendations and enjoy sparkling conversation, come read along with us and then listen in.
Do you know what Che stands for? Come here. Roses is red, violets is blue. Come a little closer because I have a flower too.
This is Jeppy Paraiso and you're watching Producing While Asian.
This podcast exists, as you know, you're our first guest on this podcast, and so really thank you for being here and saying yes to my random in the dark question of being like, want to be on this podcast that no one knows about? Sure. And yeah, it's just such an honor to have you. And so this podcast exists to promote people like us, to get our voices out there, to tell people who aren't like us about us, if they don't already know, and to kind of get us on that level, because it's especially, and I hate to bring a downer topic into this, but with what's going on in the world today in 2021 with our community and the kind of discrimination we're experiencing, this is what we can start from. We can just get out there and tell people like, we're great, we do amazing things, and listen, like meet these people.
We're at the table too. Hello.
Know that we're not like people that are trying to take your jobs or, whatever, some stupid shit like that. I can't even. So now that you're one of a really recognizable content producer for, I would say, for millennials and Gen Z and, some Gen Xers who are really hip and cool. We love you, I promise. But like also boomers, because our lovely titas and titos, on a scale of 1 to producer, where do you sit? Because I know that you also have like multiple talents. So you just describing you're a chef, which I'll come back to that. But also I've seen you sing. So and of course we're Filipino, so we sing all the time, but like in terms of singing, like you can sing. So like tell me, like, where do you sit from 1 to a producer? Like, are you malleable? Are you one or the other? I feel like, it's kind of everything.
I would say producer, because when I have a vision, it's just like, well, has to happen to get it done. Even if it's my stuff, or if I'm collaborating with a brand or just working with friends, I'm like, so what has to happen for us to get this achieved? So I'm just like, if it's this, if it's that, I'll do it. I'll get it done. I'll ask somebody. So I'm always that person, because when I get a vision, and even if it's not for me, I hear demos of my friends' songs. They're songwriters in the Philippines and stuff. So I hear demos. I see it in my head where the song can be, and like, this could be, thrown on a soap opera. This could be here. This could be there. This could be used in a commercial. So I'm just like, this is what I was like, this is what I see. So I'm giving content away for free, where people pay a lot of money for this kind of stuff. So I'm just like, I think naturally I kind of have that producer gene and that director gene, because when I get an idea or a vision, I will do anything to get it done the way I see it, which I think a lot of people, that's kind of how they operate too. Is like they see it. It's just the job, and the work is figuring out how to produce it and deliver it in the way you see it and the way people will receive it.
Yeah, because in the world there's like there's no one definition of what a producer is, which is why I asked that question. A producer in music is very different from a content producer, is very different from a Broadway producer, right? So that's kind of my way of asking you, define what you are as a producer.
For everybody, like, I write the content, I film the content, I edit the content. When I work with brands, like, of course I do what the brand wants and their vision, but I'm all hands on deck. I've traveled with a lot of brands I work with, especially with TFC and stuff. So I was just like, coming from the background of being a chef and that work ethic I have, if I have to put folding tables out, I'm going to do it. If that means getting everything set up the way it's supposed to be. So that's just my personality. If I have to do dishes, I'll do dishes. If it means I'm helping the team. So I'm very much that team player when it comes, and it's a case by case situation, but it's just natural for me to do what it takes, because I could have the idea, but if I have to do like the tiniest person's job, I'll do it. Gladly.
That's awesome. It's producers, they say, are people that care about everyone, even though sometimes producers get a bad rap for like stealing money. But that aside, like producers,
that's why I lean more towards the title coordinator, because I think I'm really good at coordinating than, I guess, producing, or whatever everybody's.
But it's part of it. Yeah,
but it's part of it. So I'm very coordinated when it comes to, and again, it goes from how I learned how to work, going to culinary school and working as a chef, is that work ethic of just organization and priority and stuff like that.
And so it's like you just naturally try to envision all the different parts, like who's doing what, and you hopefully have an answer if somebody has a question. Speaking of culinary school, where do you stand with that now? Like, are you still cooking? Do you want to work that into what you're doing somehow? Like, what are your thoughts? Because I know that you were kind of playing with that a little bit.
I was the pastry chef and kitchen manager at Astro Donuts and Fried Chicken in Washington, D.C. So I was there for about 5.5 years, achieved great things there. I got to work with Food Network and stuff like that. So I wasn't so far away from working with entertainment and being on camera and stuff. And then a lot of opportunities for Tita Che kept coming. So I left. I left working there. And since then, I've had jobs here and there where just like casual Monday to Friday, just extra cash to pay bills, whether it be managing random spots here in the area. But as of me running a kitchen, being a chef, I haven't done that since 2018. It's so hard for me to do food content because, one, you get a different kind of energy when it comes to comments, because a lot of people have their own opinions on how to peel an onion and chop an onion. And I was just like, I don't want to welcome that kind of energy just yet into my space. My kitchen it's not made for filming. So I was just like, maybe one day when I have my own place and a nice kitchen, I could film some stuff. And then I see like things like mukbangs and stuff. I was just like, I wish I could do that. I mean, I could, but it's just on top of what I already do. I was just like, I don't think I can squeeze that in. Food content is something I've always wanted to do, especially with things like, venues like TikTok and now, where everything's just so quick and speedy and everything, and everybody gets their point in 60 seconds, especially when it comes to food content. I'm just like, I could see myself doing this. And I always tell myself, I was like, I could do it. I can do the Tita Che, I can do the food. And then I'm like, when it comes to the time, it's like, I can't do this. It's so hard. But I mean, I would like to dip my foot into some chef content and some tips that I've gathered through the years. But one ironic thing, and I'm probably going to get my Filipino card taken away from me for this. I really don't know how to cook Filipino food.
Oh,
like,
no.
Yeah, and like, my reason was like because I never had to do it. Like somebody else was always doing it. My mom was doing it, or my aunties were doing it. And you know, they never taught me. Like I mean, I could do it, but I always tell people I don't do it to the point where our ancestors are dancing. Like I don't do it like I just do it very standard. So it's just like, you know, when you taste it, you're just like, damn, that's adobo, man. That's adobo. Right. Like I can't do it to that level. Yeah. But hopefully if I work on it, I probably can achieve that level of making our ancestors dance when that's all like if I'm gonna get my card revoked because I can't cook no damn adobo.
You know what? Like I'm probably similar. Like I was cooking Filipino food when I lived on my own in DC, and then since I moved home to Pittsburgh, and now I've moved my mom in with me, I stopped cooking because she's your typical Filipino mom who's like, oh, what do you want for dinner? And I'm like, oh, I don't have to cook. And she's like, no, I'll cook. And I'm like, great. But I think what I'm thinking, and maybe I can share my solution with you, is like, I do want to make an effort to watch her cook more so that even if I'm not cooking it, like at least I have like a visual seeing of what she's doing, and then maybe like try it with her, because I also know that Filipino moms are very particular about the kitchen,
and it's hard for them to explain their little tricks because like you're just like, what are you doing there, what are you tasting, what are you looking for? They're just like, if it's right.
Right.
Like,
yeah,
there's no
there's no measurement.
It's right. Is it left right now? Like, what is it?
Right.
It's so funny.
And she's like, yeah, I'll let it boil longer. And I'm like, for how long? She's like, you know, just longer.
Just until it's ready. And you're just like, forget it.
Yeah, for sure. So that's cooking. Now, in terms of singing, are you gonna dip into? Are we about to see like Jeppy's greatest Mariah covers, or like Jeppy duet with Regine?
That's one thing. Oh my god, that would be just such a dream come true. Luckily, I can, you know, I've molded Tita Che to be like this Elita Corrales type energy, Regine Velasquez hitting notes kind of thing, which makes me easier because I could sing songs like I don't typically can sing, but do love.
Yeah.
So I could do that, and I can be so over the top with it because that's the character. So I'm glad that I've kind of introduced that into Tita Che's character. But yeah, I mean, I always dabble with the thought of maybe doing like a Tita Che EP with I have a lot of friends in the Philippines that work with, you know, comedy albums. Like, I don't think that's ever, I mean, there's been like live comedy albums, but to like feature like this kind of stuff I do and to like release an EP or something like that, or even like album of parodies or just like novelty songs that I'm best at writing a parody better than I can like, I wish I could like songwrite, like serious songwrite, but I can't. But I'm great at writing a parody. So that's one kind of like maybe dream or goal that I have with Tita Che. Like maybe I can do like a comedy album and kind of figure out how to convey Tita Che in that kind of element. But when it comes to like me singing, I always welcome any opportunity for me to showcase like my serious side of music. A lot of requests is just like, you have to go to the Philippines and do theater. And I'm just like, I don't know, I'm not an actor. But I love musical theater and I love watching it. And I mean, I've done one musical in my whole life and it was like a community theater level. And I played Joseph and the Technicolor Dreamcoat. That was Joseph.
Oh my God.
So that was
I must see.
One, I have footage, I'll send it to you.
Yes.
One, like, I was thankful there's no speaking dialogue because I would have totally bombed that.
Yeah, it's
all singing. So I was like, I can do this. I can just remember all the songs and I can't sight read. So I'm just like, I just got to memorize these songs. So it was a cool experience. And the best times is, you know, at rehearsal where you're just doing the damn thing. I was just like, maybe one day if there's an opportunity for me to do a musical, I wouldn't want to be a lead. Like, I want to be in an ensemble. I want to be in the background just having fun. And just like running in and out of the stage, just in and out. I'm like, I think that's more fun than like worrying about being a lead. But, you know, musical theater has always crossed my mind here and there because my taste in music is very broad. And since I'm like a 90s kid, I mean, I like the new stuff. I love the 90s stuff. I love, 60s, 70s, 80s stuff. The struggle with a lot of people our age and a little bit older is that they're not really grasping to the music now. And like I go into it. I mean, there's a lot of stuff I don't like now, but there's some stuff that I do like where I'm just like, this reminds me of, because I like dissect it. I listen to the backgrounds and the instruments in the back, and I'm just like, well, this is I can tell that this is totally influenced by so and so, and this is influenced by so and so, and I see what they did there. So I appreciate that when I hear new stuff. And I think that was a key with Tita Che, because coming from the generation that I grew up with, where I guess if you want to categorize it, it's like the older millennial. I was born in '89. So
yeah, we're old millennials.
We grew into technology, but we know how to go outside and have a good time until the street lights come on, and we know how to maneuver social media and how the world operates now. So it gave me like this broad, open field of content that I can pull from, where I can pull something from old school and pull something from new school and come up with content that is still relatable. So I think that was like one of the key things, and I was just blessed to be the age that I am, that I can apply this character and have endless content, because I can pick fun of at anything, where if it's like Gen Z or boomer stuff. So I think that's kind of like the key to her success, is that she always finds something to joke about and to reference and it's just this weird balance, because I kind of have this formula when it comes to like when I see something trending. Like a few months ago was Bridgerton, so I was like, let me try writing a Bridgerton script. Like, what would Tita Che be like if she was on Bridgerton? Stuff like that, which I might come. I'm not making any promises, but I might, do a whole
all the Bridgerton hive is going to come for the episode.
Maybe in time for season 2, but stuff like that. Like, what is trending, and how can is there any tricks that I can? Is there any words or phrases I can make fun of in an accent, or in Tita humor or Filipino humor? So that's kind of how I maneuver making content, is like what is in right now, what is everybody doing, what kind of challenges are there, can I apply that to our culture or the dynamic of Tita Che? And sometimes it works, and sometimes, and it's funny because like things that I find hilarious because I had like this sick sense of humor, people don't. And I'm just like, oh, this video is gonna do well, it's gonna do well, this is hilarious. And then it does mediocre, which is fine. I'm not like in it for the views. But then with the stuff that I write some jokes that I know I have to write, because that's what people are going to look for. So I kind of just put that into the mix. So I'm just like, oh, I'm going to force myself to say this because I know everybody's going to look for it. And then that's the thing that everybody loves and clings on to. I'm just like, oh my God.
You're like, oh man, it's like singers that are like, they try to do like, they try to do new music, and then everyone's like, sing Baby, Justin Bieber.
Yeah. So. Exactly. It's that kind of struggle.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, that's great. It's an honest take on, what we have to do, right? Because like producing it's also following trends. Like I was going to ask, like you're probably just like watching everything and like consuming everything to just try to stay on top of things.
And I'm also mindful of what I don't want this to come off as me like spying on other Filipino creators, but I'm also mindful of what other Filipino creators are doing, and supporting them also, because trends. So, and because I know if somebody did something and I do something similar, people are gonna be like, well, so did it first, and I remember, and you're trying to piggyback on. So I don't want that situation.
So
I'm very mindful of what's kind of trending in the Filipino community also. So I'm just very mindful, because I'm just like, and everybody likes to pinpoint. People have always pinpointed me towards Jokoy, and I'm just like, Jokoy is up here, dude. Like, what the hell? I'm all the way down here. Jokoy is up here.
I mean,
I was just like, there's
never say never.
Comparison. And so I'm just like, I'm not even trying to steal anybody's shine. And I always tell people, like, everybody has their season to shine. So whether you're a big creator, or you're this big star like Jokoy, or if you're like the smallest creator with 50 to 1,000 subscribers, everybody's gonna have their season to shine.
And it's the idea that collaboration also really matters, that there's value in that. So like maybe one day it means in terms of singing and like parody albums, maybe Rex Neveretti would want to do that with you because that's what he did before. He had that song about, I mean, the one song that I remember all the time is the one about the wife who's dead. And he's like singing about how she like beat him up all the time. And it's like today, not very funny because it's about domestic abuse, but at the time, Filipinos are real into that. But, that might be the future. It might be you and him working together, or you and Joe Coy working together, because
that would be awesome.
I think they're both kind of in that same mindset of like pulling people up, right? Yeah. I haven't really met or heard of too many, I'm not going to say no one, but I haven't heard of many Filipino artists that do not like to help, or, push other people forward. And that's kind of where we're at. It's that idea of helping the next round of people and also
clapping for our fellow entertainers and anything in our community is clapping for them and supporting them in that way, and not be like, well, so-and-so did it better than that. I don't know why they, it's nothing new. I'm just like, no, cut that. Clap for them because it's their time to shine. And when the next one comes and does the same thing and does it maybe better or similar, clap for them too, because this is how we grow. This is how we evolve. Right. This is how we win. Is if we just just simply snaps for each other, claps for each other, without the commentary, without the crab mentality.
Right. That's why turning off those comments sometimes real helpful. I wish you could do that on Instagram sometimes. Like click off.
Click off.
Hey everybody, it's Sam Amico from Cavs on the Break NBA podcast. Be sure to give us a listen for all your Cleveland Cavaliers recaps, analysis, breakdowns, draft talk, free agency. The list goes on and on. Give us a listen, Cavs on the Break NBA podcast.
Hey, it's JD from the Hyman Podcast. I created this podcast to have hard conversations. Conversations that make us human but are also wildly uncomfortable. Conversations that help give voice to the voiceless and to the marginalized. Now you can listen to the entire first season on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts from. Consider this your personal invitation to join the conversation.
Okay, everybody on mute. I'm going to pray. Okay, guys, let's take picture. Okay, now choose a filter. Choose a filter on your page so we can take wacky pictures. Okay, you ready? My God, I look so different. What is that?
Hello. This is Tita Che, and you're watching Producing While Asia.
The next thing I want to ask you about is, so Tita Che, the brand, now has merchandise. Yeah.
Yes.
As you're wearing, if you're watching this interview on YouTube, there is a sweatshirt, but we'll tell you about it if you're listening. Yeah. So what are the dreams? What are your dreams for your
dreams? Oh my God,
plan?
I dream a dream of time gone by. Like I said before, I'm going to keep as long as people want to see her, and if technology allows me to keep playing her, I'll still play her. In the long run, I was talking to a couple of my friends in LA about this. I've always wanted to start a foundation, maybe in like my 40s. I'm 31 now, but maybe in my 40s. I was like, this is something I could possibly build a foundation, Che Foundation, and drive it towards education and kids. Because growing up here in the States, I didn't have access to Filipino content, movies, music, or anything, because it was just, it was the 90s. So there's this Oriental store in Arlington, Virginia, and they had like a bookshelf of Filipino movies. And they would get like one VHS tape.
Wait,
like,
what was this store?
It was a Fiesta.
Oh my God, I missed them.
So we're good friends with the Suna family. So we're
tell them I miss them.
Yeah,
like my family would come down from Pittsburgh and go there all the time.
As a kid, we would, because my dad was friends with the owner, Uncle Fred is his name, and we would rent movies. Fernando, my dad's a big Fernando Poe Jr.
Yes, FPJ.
Action star fan, and my mom's a big Sharon Cuneta fan. And so those were the two artists that and seeing a Filipino movie as a kid was just like, that was my window to see the Philippines. Yeah. Because, flying to the Philippines wasn't kind of like an option back then. So it was like my window to one, entertainment, to the music, and 3, seeing my people and how they are in my country that I've never been to yet at the time in early 90s.
Mm-hmm.
So it was my window to that world, because it was just like this, as a kid, you think it's just like a million miles away and you'll never see it.
Yeah.
Movies was a big, exciting part of growing up, because I got to see us. I got to see what it's like.
Yeah.
In a lot of those movies, it was always shot in not so nice areas in the Philippines, and there was always, and my parents would always like, see, that's how it is in the Philippines for some people. That's where the poor people are, and the people that struggle. And look at those kids, they're crossing rivers and creeks and bridges to go to school by foot and stuff like that. So like that always imprinted me growing up, was how much a struggle it was just to learn your ABCs at 2, 3, 4 years old. So I growing older and growing more mature, and now having this platform, I'm just like, it will be great to eventually sometime in the future give back to that and help kids get better education, or even if it's career awareness or something like that. I would be so open for that. That's kind of the dream I have. That's the foundation is a dream. Tita Che landing a Jollibee ad would be my number. That's my only goal. My only goal right now is just to do that.
Write Jollibee
I can do whatever with Tita
Che. We got to write them about their Wheaton ad.
Oh my god! Don't get me started. How many, like that night, the night we saw it, I came up with 10 amazing ads that could have been that ad. That could have just made the point in 1 minute. And I was just like, who's in the creatives team? And a lot of people were messaging me that work with I won't drop brands.
The decision makers.
Work with people that got access to the people that were making Jollibee stuff. So they expressed their concern about that ad. So I'm just like, thank you.
Yeah. I heard because Clubhouse is a thing now. Thank you so much for inviting me.
No problem.
Where another friend was there on this room. He's running several rooms, but it was and I feel bad that I can't quote what name it is, because I heard it's pretty banging in there. But one time they were talking about the Filipino Experience, and the content creator person for Jollibee logged in, and they were talking about that ad, and it wasn't bad. They asked him and it was a Filipino guy. They're like, "Dear Tito, why?" And so his response was, and this is not the official statement, this is just hearsay, so I'm going to make that clear that I'm not speaking for Jollibee. But what I heard was that they said, oh, they didn't put any Filipino people in it because they wanted to appeal to the market of Wheaton. And I was like, well, on one hand, yes, but on the other hand, don't you want to show that it's a Filipino brand, somehow?
Exactly.
But
that was my whole point, because I got kind of pushed back when it's just like, well, maybe they're trying to diverse in the workplace. I was like, yes, we always want to promote diverse people in the workplace. But then
there were zero Filipinos.
There's a way to do it where you can balance having a diverse crew and honoring the legacy that is Jollibee. Pretend you know nothing about Jollibee and look at that ad. Are you going to think Filipino? Did you see the spaghetti? Did you see the palabok? Did you see peach mango pie? You just saw fried chicken. So you're going to think it's another Hardee's. It's another church's chicken. So it's kind of just where's the culture aspect that the legacy of this brand rooted here and has grown here till here. So it's kind of just there's such a disconnect.
Yeah, and that idea, that representation.
What they were trying to convey, I don't disagree with that. It's just the execution was kind of
Yeah, I at first thought it was like a Bob Evans commercial, because it was.
Did you see what they added to the newer edited ad?
I have not.
They added a Filipino girl that opens the scene.
Oh, well, they heard. Good.
They added a Filipino girl who was walking into the job. I was like, what? Filipino? Okay.
One. Okay, great. Okay, so gold star, but that kind of touches on the idea of representation matters, right? So tell me a little bit kind of where you stand in that movement, and kind of where you see your content supporting that, and kind of how do you feel about where we're at in that battle? Because it is a battle. It's a battle every day, and I'm tired.
Big uphill battle. And so they did a Clubhouse room for Yellow Rose. a few weeks ago, and Leia.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Leia Salonga was in there. Eva was in there, and so like that kind of same question came up with when it's regards to representation and who gets the job, and it was just this big like, I don't. It's hard because Leia was just like, well, it's very hard for me to be on one side because I played Jasmine, I played Mulan, I played a French girl in Les Mis, so it's kind of just like, and to me, and like listening to it in my own mind, I'm just like, when it comes to roles and stuff like that, I think it's a case by case thing. Yes, I want the best person to have the job when it comes to a role, but let me see the roster of names first to make me feel better about the person playing whatever part, whether it be, acting or whatever. I want to see the roster of names first, because that tells me you have the vision of, and you're including us in the conversation and at the table. If I see all these brown names on the list, so I think it's a case by case thing. Obviously, I want a Filipino to play a Filipino.
Sure.
When it comes to certain kind of content, like when it comes to The Girl Who Left Home, like you can't cast somebody else to play.
Yeah, she can't be not Filipino, right?
Exactly. So like when it's content like that, then yes, we have to have representation. Is the context and the heart of the story going to be conveyed to the consumer? If it's not authentic from within, and the whole thing, it's just a slippery slope, and it's an uphill climb when it comes to that. The way I can answer that is like, I want to see the roster of people you've screened for certain stuff. Like if I see a whole bunch of last names that are Santos and Rodriguez and all that stuff, then I'll feel much better of you giving the job to someone that may not really at first glance represent us, but has the chops, has the skills, has the heart to do the job. Then I'll feel much better if I know a lot of people that are from our community were in the room and at the table and had their chance to try to get the job. So that's kind of like where I am with it, but it's still ongoing. And one of my pet peeves, and I hate to like be such a Debbie, but a lot of these shows, especially when we have a moment on like Netflix or like a primetime show, and they cast an immigrant Filipino with like such a weak accent, and I'm just like, I don't want to name shows and stuff and then get people riled up. I'm just like, it's just like such a struggle. I'm just like, there's so many people in this community that are literally begging to work, and just like for these like random glimmer of light for these roles that will just do such an impact, and they don't get casted, and they cast somebody with like it's just such a missed opportunity for me. And it's kind of like what such a pet peeve of mine. And if you're gonna cast that person, that's fine. Maybe the person's good for the job, but like what is the support behind it? Do they have a I don't know what they call it, like an accent consultant helping with the speech, or helping explain even when it comes to body language and stuff, when it comes because we have a very specific body language and tones we have to hit when we speak that really relates to our culture as Filipinos. I'm like, is there a coach being considered for that? Because that's the stuff, that's not the stuff a lot of people are going to look at, but that's the stuff a lot of people like you and me are going to look at. We see
it. Yeah, we see
like,
it.
Are we going to see the side eye? Are we going to see the point of the lips? Are we going to see, the in the background chismising with the other cast members because you're that tita? So it's just like little things like that. Like, is that being explained to the other people that don't get it?
Exactly. So like when you see hospital shows.
Exactly.
Yeah, like especially hospital shows where you're just like, hospitals in America are full of Filipinos. And when you see a hospital show and the ER or whatever part of the hospital is like all white people, you're like, that's not real. Like, are you in the middle of nowhere? Like, maybe, like if you're in the middle of like Nebraska, but like then again, there are Filipino nurses there too. So, where are they? So yeah. Well, funny you bring up Yellow Rose. Jeremiah will be a host or a guest. Sorry.
So funny. I met Jeremiah in a Happy Slip show. So when Happy Slip when Christine had she had a last show of her tour in New York City. I couldn't. She asked me to be a guest on the DC one, but I went to the Philippines, so I was like, I cannot go to the DC one. I'm so sorry. But I came back in time for the New York show. So I was like, hey, I'm coming up to New York. I'm gonna watch you and my friend RJ, Random Ridge. And she's like, oh my God, do you want to come up for like 10 minutes and just do something just random? So we came up with this skit where she was gonna, because it was a time where she was singing in the show, she was playing piano. She was like, I'm gonna play Tita, and then I'm gonna bring you up from the audience, and I'm gonna have you just sing something random, and then I'm gonna act salty because you're better than me. I was like, okay, cool, just bring me up. So I'm hiding in the audience, and then I'm in a booth, and then Jeremiah and his husband get sat with us, me and my best friend, and like me, I'm trying to hide, and then I see Jeremiah on his phone on Happy Slit on Christine's Instagram, and my picture's on there. And when he sees it, and I bump my best friend, and he sees it, and he was like, I knew it, that's you, that you're Jeppy. I was just like, oh my God, yeah, be quiet. And then from that day on, we became friends, and Mallory
awesome.
was there too, so I got to meet her that night, and we all went out together,
fun.
and I made friends with Dylan was there. That's the night. So funny, I met Dylan that night, and he was like, I met you before, and I felt like such a jerk. He was like, I met you before. I was like, where? I was like, I don't remember. In my mind, I'm like, I don't remember meeting you. He was like, I met you in Broadway Barcada. I'm like, oh,
in DC.
I was like, the night I met like 100 of you. Yeah, I was like, and then later on when we became like good friends, I was just like, send me the picture of you guys in Broadway Barcada. And then and his hair was so different from when I met him the second time from Broadway. I was like, oh, I remember now. I felt like such a jackass. I was just so like, funny. The whole night, I was just like, I do not remember this kid. I'm like, he said, I was like, where did I meet him? And I was just like, oh my God,
Dylan.
It was so funny. So I met Jeremiah and Mallory and a lot of great people in that show in New York. So I was just like, this is awesome.
And all these people, hope are in the process of hopefully becoming guests in this season. So it's an action-packed season 1 of Producing While Asian. It also shows how little our community is and how it needs to be bigger. So, the point is, let's keep, spreading the word, finding more Asian Americans and Asians to be not just producers, but around and part of this community, because we just have to keep growing and expanding. And so with that, it's been awesome talking to you and hearing about your experiences. So tell the audience, where can they, if they don't already do, where they can follow you, how they can find you, where can they get your amazing sweatshirt, like all that stuff.
So social media at Jeppy Paraiso. That's YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. What else? Clubhouse. There's so many. Kumu. I live stream on Kumu, which is a Filipino live streaming app. TikTok. It's Jeppy Paraiso if you like TikToks. And merch. This is the Che merch. It's on Teesprings, I believe. I can't remember the link on the top of my head. But teespring.com/Tita Che. I'm sure if you search Tita Che, you'll find it. Or if you go to one of my YouTube videos, it's on the bottom of the video. There's a link to it. And yeah, that's it. I think I covered everything. Awesome. There's so many social media platforms now, I can't keep track.
I know. Awesome. Well, yeah, follow Jeppy on all of his platforms. It'll be in the comments on this video, or not comments, but like the description on this video, but also on the website. We'll make sure that you guys can find him. Again, if you don't already do, which I find impossible. But yeah, that is a wrap for our first guest ever. Hooray! Thank you.
Yay! Congratulations!
So, I hope you come back. Thank you. I hope you come back again for things you want to talk about. Always here for some hot tea later. I know we had to keep it kind of PG for
the next one could be more controversial.
Right? But yeah, well, thank you again, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to today's episode of the Producing While Asian podcast. Our theme song was created by Luckstock. We are produced by Press Play Podcasts, and the show is edited by Michael Santos Sandoval. If you have a moment, please leave a review and a rating, and be sure to send us any topic ideas you have to producingwhileasian@gmail.com. To follow us, stay updated, and read our blog, visit www.producingwhileasian.com. We hope you join us again soon.